the television advertising of Sonic the Hedgehog was positively overflowing with sauce. Sega does what Nintendo don't. These adverts generally had such high energy and a certain degree of intensity to try and get the point across.
This hedgehog is fast. You will buy his game. It is good.
They were filled with specially filmed set pieces, custom animation, but extra specifically, weirdness. Sonic advertising had this offbeat nature to it, as if Sega as a company didn't take itself too seriously. Don't get it twisted, they absolutely did. Or well before the rise of social media. So quite frankly, your first impressions of the game would be these commercials that make you feel like you're losing your mind. And that is doubly truthful for every child in old Great Britain during the 90s, as our adverts were even more crazed non sequiturs that make it borderline miraculous that they actually managed to not only get them through advertising standards, but also that they remembered to actually advertise the game at all. Not only were they absolutely wild, but it was an amazing demonstration of what happens when Sega gets blazed to oblivion and locks the hell in. So today, we're going to dive in and take a look at some of these old and ridiculous British Sonic adverts. Starting from the first one, we have this advert starring Peter Wingfield as our man in a spinning chair inside a gigantic truck with gothic interior sensibilities, not too unlike the 8th Doctor's TARDIS interior, playing Sonic 1 while a mysterious ninja flips his way towards him, drawing comparisons between Sonic and the ninja. The ninja then flips his way onto the lorry in slow motion, implying that playing Sonic 1 actively impairs your perception of the entire space-time continuum.
Once you start playing Sonic the Hedgehog, everything else seems a little bit slow.
Inexplicably, Wingfield then summons a bed. There is a random dog, hello, catches the ninja mid-leap and throws him onto said bed, and the poor sod gets launched into oblivion. Just like Sonic in Spring Yard, apparently. And in the closing moments, along with the price, we see the poor ninja falling down, about to suffer a very swift and shocking demise. I mean, they certainly captured the excitement of this one. I can see where they're coming from, really banking on Sonic's speed to make a point of modern life becoming horrendously boring and slow to the point where you can defeat ninjas in your rent-free paradise. The worst sin this advert commits is that it's somewhat inaccurate because, let's admit it, there's only 2 zones in Sonic 1 which have any semblance of speed significantly. But aside from that, it's wild, it's fun, it's stupid, it's a solid ad. I can only imagine what the adults must have been thinking, seeing a justified self-defense case play out before their very eyes in order to advertise little Timmy's new obsession.
Obviously not as fast as Sonic the Hedgehog!
Moving on to Sonic 2. Now, Sega Europe was really kicking up with their advertising campaigns, creating Sega Pirate TV as some mock pirate television station that existed to promote Sega products in the most unhinged but also bafflingly creative ways known possible, including, and not limited to, causing nightmares. With that in mind, Sonic 2's UK advert was, shall we say, one of the more morbid things that Sega has ever done. The first thing we see is a dead hedgehog. Obviously not a real one, but it's fashioned as a real hedgehog. Followed by the Mad Vet, as played by the then face of Sega TV, Stephen O'Donnell, who burst into laughter at the sight of this expired little lad. We see the hedgehog get poked and prodded, and it's very clear that, no, he is definitely, irrefutably, dead, much to the seeming delight of the vet. And to top it all off, there is an address to send donations to St. Tiggy Winkle Hedgehog Hospital, which is indeed a real place. When reading about this advert, I've seen it get compared to a PSA, and the sad fact is I love PSAs and I can't disagree. It has that same morbid atmosphere to it. I can imagine some smaller kids getting completely upset by this because the tone is very much all over the place. You get your Sonic gameplay, but you also get a dead hedgehog. Pick your struggle. But let's be honest, it's all intentional. It's only 20 seconds long, but it feels like 10, and you're just left there with these morbid images being blasted into your brain with a desperate need to throw money somewhere to help the hedgehogs. Honestly though, I admire the boldness. I don't think you'd be able to get away with this quite in the same way today. Imagine little Timmy tuning in to the chase at 5 o'clock-ish, only to get blasted by images of a dead hedgehog. He'd be crying for at least 25 seconds. I feel like kids these days are a bit more desensitized in general compared to those of the 90s. Thank you, Internet.
Well, he won't be making a comeback.
I guess he just did Sonic 2!
Sonic CD, and this one is a fever dream. It's more of a general advert about the Mega CD, and it introduces the strange, probably should have been iconic but never quite made it, pirate mascot. This demented blue skull with one eye. Honestly, he goes hard. Now I would try and describe this advert, but I'll be totally honest, I don't know how. This is really just a stream of consciousness with O'Donnell playing this fortune teller type going through horoscopes. There's new images pumped into your brain every other second, and when we do get to Sonic CD, it plays one of the most trippy parts of that game. The special stages with the rainbow glowing sky, obviously for maximum intended effect. Eesh. It's a little bit incomprehensible, but it's also got a fun vibe that can't be mistaken. The thing with this ad campaign is that it insists upon its weirdness, and I have to say I do respect that about it.
This month you're a twisted arrow spinning in a twilight sky. Let's face it, you're shot.
To be Mega CD takes Sega! Sega TV interview spot.
Hey, Damon Hill, what you gonna do if I tell everyone you ain't quick enough to play Sonic Chaos? Ooh, too slow again.
To be this quick takes Sega!
Now, one of the most random ads they did was for Sonic Chaos, and it is just a bit, okay then. It's an interview with one of Britain's best Formula 1 racers, Damon Hill, decked out in Sega merch and probably having a nice little paycheck to boot, which basically equates to O'Donnell berating him for not being quick enough for Sonic Chaos, leading to Damon Hill punching the camera. I actually think Sonic Chaos is pretty good too, so there's no shame at all.
One and Sega CD workout.
For Sonic Spinball, of all things, we're given the equivalent of being forcefully injected with adrenaline in again one of the most completely insane 20 seconds of our lives, for pissing Sonic Spinball. I counted roughly 20 cuts in the first 7 seconds alone. It's actually amazing, none of these images are in the Bible or have anything to do with the Sonic until our eyes are warmed up. And then, these guys somehow managed to make Sonic Spinball one of the most intense games ever made. I don't know how they did it, how they got the idea for this. It's just insane, but weirdly hypnotic. And now for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, where things got even weirder. Yes, that is possible. We all know there were all sorts of discussions about Michael Jackson's involvement in Sonic 3, but little did we know that there was an entire song retooled to promote Sonic 3. The basis of the advertising campaign for Sonic 3 involved the band Right Said Fred doing a promotional music video in one of the weirdest collaborations ever, with their song Wonder Man being rewritten to be about Sonic. They rented out all these industrial environments, cars, pyrotechnics, all for this. The whole thing takes place in a supposed recreation of Hydro City Hydrocity Zone. In name only though, because it still doesn't feel like anything you'd associate with Sonic. And yet, it still manages to grab your attention, which again is the point. I mean, my brain's thought process just went, what? Followed by, why? And then ending in, 90s. O'Donnell once again appears as a prominent character in the adverts and the music video as a wildly eccentric host with the biggest case of main character syndrome this side of the 90s, offering another offbeat rant about Sonic 3's new features, and also letting the gameplay do the talking too. The song itself... it's catchy, I can't lie. And it reached number 55 in the singles charts, so someone bought it. To be fair, I do find this exchange funny.
Tonight we interview a really big star. Not you. Sonic 3.
It has aged so much better than you could ever imagine. Sonic animation during the original trilogy is always fascinated to me because we get to see the various interpretations of Sonic's design in those early days, all based on box art, style guides, and potential influence from the USA shows, with undoubtedly a higher relative budget for 30 seconds of their time than either Adventures or Sat.AM got for 30 seconds of their own animations. As such, Kellogg's Frosties did an advert which has some of the cleanest looking Sonic animation for no reason. And let's just say, they certainly gave their own unique interpretation of Sonic, taking the American Sonic design and stripping the fur off his legs while he plays a Sega Mega Drive while seemingly trapped within a Sega Mega Drive. Or while Tony plays with yo-yos with his face on them. What a time to be alive. I mean, if my brain was anywhere close to developing at this point, I would have liked these yo-yos too. I noticed that it incorporates the Long John Baldry Robotnik too. You know, one of the best ones. He was very popular on merch back in the day, and not only that, he was the incumbent Robotnik design in the British Sonic the Comic from Fleetway, so he had a special significance over here.
Sonic the Hedgehog, origin 0 to 60 revolutions per second, acceleration in major high velocity spin. Knuckles the Echidna, airspeed at max altitude, 5,000 non-velocity spin.
The main event. This one is another avant-garde little advert, and generally seems to be so matrixy pre-Matrix with these early 3D models. I mean, look at how small Sonic's spines are and how flat Knuckles' head is. These are such early 3D visualizations of the characters that it's truly fascinating, as it ominously spouts data and promotes the main event, aka the release of Sonic and Knuckles. We head to the actual main event itself, and it's very much framed like an overly aggressive boxing match, with these wildly dressed men representing Sonic and Knuckles, raising the stakes higher and higher until they both attempt to kill each other and then knock themselves out, while the kids at home learn about lock-on technology. Isn't it just swell?
Hey, Hawk Breath, there's only one star here! My boy Sonic! He's in the groove with fresh moves! Button his blabbermouth and check out my man, Knuckles! He climbs, butts the wall!
Okay, gentlemen, let's see some action.
I do love the energy, it's just completely mental. Sega certainly does what Nintendo don't, in this case having multiple counts of attempted murder play out on screen.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Sonic the Hedgehog is serious business! And these ads all completely get that, 100%. Unfortunately, Sega Pirate TV as an ad campaign was shut down in late 1995, with the company opting for a more mature, although some might say more abstract, kind of marketing for the ill-fated Sega Saturn. Unfortunately with this, the source of Sonic adverts in the UK started to gradually evaporate.
With Sonic R, are you smart enough to compete as Super Sonic? No chance.
But the last desperate grasp of some kind of creativity would still be felt throughout the Adventure era. Sonic Adventure's advert literally had two businessy looking women racing each other in some kind of multiplayer race. They become more and more passive aggressive to each other, running in heels, which is definitely a good way to get yourself injured, until it turns out player 2 has sabotaged player 1's exit, securing her victory. You know what? I vibe with it. It's a perfect replication of what Tails' story is actually like. Except in those stories you win by greater margins than by the skin of your teeth. Usually.
Play Sonic Adventure together on Dreamcast. Up to 6 billion players.
And for a game that has such a reputation of being one of the most relentlessly cool games in the Sonic franchise, Sonic Adventure 2's advert is just straight up adorable. Of course this wasn't limited to the UK either, this was a global advert. And naturally this double Hedgehog set has multiple variants as well. It's a pretty strong Western ad campaign, with these little real hedgehogs. Some twat in the back is trying to get them to fight, but they're like, no, I'ma do my own thing. And good on them, I love them.
This is Super Sonic Hedgehog Combat. Good versus evil, strong versus weak, blonde versus brown, Hedgie. Go! Go! No!
Time to take sides. Choose your hedgehog. It's good versus evil. It's Sonic versus Shadow in the battle for Earth. Sonic on Nintendo GameCube.
Hey, I'm just glad to see a Sonic advert which is making use of alive hedgehogs.
Well, he won't be making a comeback.
Yeesh. To round things off, I think the last real example of British marketing not taking itself too seriously can be felt in the Sonic Heroes advert, which is basically a genuine funny and inspired take on the A-Team, remixing the lyrics and making it fit Team Sonic. It's wholesome.
In 1991, the supersonic hero was born. Today, still wanted the world over, he works as part of a crack team, united in the fight against evil. If you have what it takes, and if you can afford them, you too can join the Sonic Team.
But as you can see, the craziness and zaniness of the early to mid 90s has effectively disappeared. Everything else after this point kinda just takes on a bland business attitude. Usually when we get something cool it's from social media and not the television, and that's just the direction things are going these days, and have been for many years. But hey, it was good while it lasted. Sonic's British advertising is a steaming hot mess, and I can't help but really enjoy it. Like, these are such unconventional ways of advertising games, and they just went for it based purely on vibes and grabbing as much attention as they possibly could. It was definitely successful for quite some time, and they probably capped it off at the right time before it started to become stale. There's no way this sort of style would have worked today, unfortunately, but at least we got it for one part of human history. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll all just lose our minds again and head back to this in-your-face style of advertising. We're always just one step away from a good crash out, so who can say? Well, until next time, see ya!